the copyright holders are much more eager today now to close all gaps which content can escape. I even read an article that children in the UK were forbidden to sing Christmas songs because they were not they were copyrighted. And so that's something I think that would not have happened a few years ago.
Okay, I have a microphone. Okay, I would like to give an example for the question of for the fellow at the wall with the division of the net in free and non-free parts, I think. I believe in some areas the only possible division would be into a legal and illegal part. For example, as Michael described, the patent system, which is kind of out of control regarding software. It also is a problem for free software. Free software authors can't do this patent clearings and research if their software violates patents, and the patents get more all the time and so on. So there will, given a specific legal climate, there will just be no possibility of putting free software on the net. So there will be a scarcity, or you will put it online illegal and anonymously, but you can't have a free part of the net if the laws forbid it.
Legal boundaries on the net are not limited by geographical borders anymore. Because if you say this is illegal in this country, then what happens if it is illegal to use a hacking tool in Germany, but a German downloads it while in South America from a server in Egypt? Like completely outside of the legal jurisdictions of that particular area, you can't easily pin down laws to things that have no location.
I think that's very optimistic, but I don't think we need to have a big discussion here.
Do that in the bar. Do you want to, Michael, do you want to answer, or shall I do the next question?
Any comment?
Well, I sometimes wonder whether the mainstream opinion here that intellectual property, patent law, and all that is starting to clog up the internet and stop progress from being made there is maybe too pessimistic. That maybe something else is the case, that these changes that are required for other industries to adapt to the internet are taking place not at the internet speed, but at society speed, which is still much slower. So basically we're screwing one industry at a time. We've basically done the music industry. The movies are kind of following now. And many other industries, like for example, I've seen figures about the pharmacy industry that has like 94% overhead in reproducing stuff, copycat drugs, that are being produced just because the other stuff has got copyright pending. And we're seeing nations like China who don't really obey copyright law and who are therefore much more productive. So I think I sometimes wonder whether maybe these systems that are in place right now and that are based on analog production and IP regulations, or thoughts at least, will turn out to be so ineffective that they, although they are right now being supported and further supported by a law that is being made, will turn out to be so ineffective that they will just crumble at some point. And that might be in a couple of years, it might be in a couple of decades, but that will happen. I don't know.
I just take it as a nice comment, or do you have a question with this?
No. Are there people with real questions for Micah?
Well, it's another comment. I would like to comment on the notion of scarcity in like real life, like physical world around us, because I think that we also have a case of gatekeeping here and some areas where we have a how to say that? Well, where we are in a situation where a lot of people are dying of hunger, but we actually don't have a scarcity of food. We are actually producing way more food than we
don't have what? A scarcity of?
Food. We are producing way more food than we need to feed the world, but we're dumping a lot in litter or whatever. We're destroying it so we can keep the prices up. So I think this division between scarcity in physical real life and in the digital world is questionable as well. I think some of the thoughts have come up in the digital world, like who are the gatekeepers who make things scarce, can also be implied on the real world. And the same is true on the other way around as well. We do have some very strict real world limitations on the internet that create scarcity there. Like we have a very non-balanced distribution of computers on this planet. We are talking from a very wide, rich European point of view here, and I think that's an effect of scarcity as well, that we have I don't know, a very small percentage of the world population with the possibility of accessing this knowledge. So that's
yeah, of course, we still have a huge digital divide. I just want to make clear, I mean, it's not about scarcity, and it's not about that we cannot, have access to certain, whatever, texts or creative works. It's always having this whole copyright issue, for example. It's having very harsh effects on civil rights. Yes, I mean it's not about consume, for example, and as well think that this big separation between analog world and digital world already has ceased years ago, at least for people, in the Western societies.
Yeah, two comments or maybe questions. I really like your idea that we must try to bring the different kind of movements much more together, the anti-copyright movement, the privacy movement, and so on. But I'm not really sure how, I'm from the privacy movement, I'm not really sure how I can tell people that they have something to hide by talking about scarcity and sustainability. It just doesn't connect at the first sight.
Well, I think...
and actually, in fact, I want personal data to be a scarce resource.
You want what?
I want personal data, data about myself, to
yes.
be a very scarce resource that nobody can access without my knowledge and my agreement, So, I wonder if kind of a different term could be a bit more unifying. In the context of the World Summit on the Information Society a few years ago, a lot of international civil society groups came up with the concept of communication rights. That links the right to also copy and to have fair use and stuff like that with privacy rights and so on, and other rights to free speech and so on. It was also a bit difficult because some traditional human rights people disagreed with that and so on, but I also find it more strong in the end, because if you argue for sustainability, you basically say, yeah, there is this goal that we need to have a sustainable environment and sustainable policies and technologies and so on. So it's somewhere in the future and we have to get there. But if we talk about rights, we can say, it's my damn right and I have it, it's in our constitution, and it's a bit stronger, I would even say.
I mean, that's always the thing with terms, it always depends on with what kind of meaning you fill it up. And my main point here in this lecture was, well, first, I think we do need some kind of theory, right? Because that is just not really an issue, and I think it's a very poor record for academia that they really don't focus on these issues much. So, I mean, I come from cultural sciences, and I do give lectures at university, but there are very few who talk of these issues, and I think that's a big mistake. So I think first step is we do need to bring this somehow onto the agenda. And yes, scarcity as well. So I'm, for example, as well very keen on my, private information, and I am a blogger as well, and I never ever put any personal information into my blog. I only write about copyright things and free software things, but never personal. So, I mean, and that's not for me a contrast when I talk of scarcity, because, I mean, in this frame, I mean, this is like a 30-minute lecture, and of course, I cannot be so accurate with terms and with the meaning. So my point here really is I think it's important just to bring these issues up, and that academia starts with focusing on this, and we're focusing on our online environment as a whole.
I'm from academia too, and I absolutely agree with your saying we need more theoretical, conceptual work on this. But can you tell me in one sentence how privacy and sustainability or being against scarcity fit together? I just don't get it.
How privacy and sustainability fit together in one sentence? Okay, I'll try. Well, I think an internet which is having a kind of sustainable framework, so people should kind of be able to decide what kind of data they have to make public, for example, so that they are kind of that they are able to, for example, keep data diets. I'm a big fan of keeping data diets. Yeah, so that people can kind of decide for themselves, and of course that is what's not sustainable is something like data retention, because then you're not anymore the master or mistress of your data. It kind of gets hijacked by someone if you're unlucky.
Okay. The last question for this room, and I guess there is a bar next door for another long discussion, so go ahead.
Okay, I just wanted to try to give an answer to that question. I think if privacy is something that is in danger because you're under surveillance or you fear to be open-minded and articulate what you think, then sustainability in the net is being in danger of, and information becomes scarce. What? Well, all this is about democracy and the system and all that stuff. So I think if someone argues what does that have to do together, you have to think about some kind of world you want to live in that deals with the same things, meaning your rights in the meat space, in the offline world and the online world. So I think it belongs together. If you fear to say something, or if you fear to lose your privacy, you won't feed the web anymore. And then perhaps it dies, or it just contains blockbuster movies.
Yeah. Mike, do you have an answer?
I think it was a neat comment.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's end this session and thank Mike again for her nice speech and her answers.
Thank you.